Buenos dias, Gunners Collective TV. Back at it, you already know. Like a torta with some bad habits. Bye up, bye up. On the meantime, in between time, make sure that you hit that like and subscribe button. But before you do, let's get to the intro. Welcome back to Gunners Collective TV. If you haven't already, make sure that you hit that like and subscribe button and put your notification bell on all, so that way you're directed in the direction of the dope content that the gun is kicking. And I highly appreciate all the support, man. Thank you. Thank you. I'm very humbled. So, pobrecito Caesar Hernandez, right? Woo! Things are getting tricky over there in Mexico. Things got very, very tricky, man. Now, I wanted to call into question, you see, and for those of you that don't know who Caesar Hernandez is, he's the guy who escaped from Delano prison or prison in Delano, and has been on the run now since December. He was tracked down yesterday. Multi-task force tracked him down, and a joint task force between Mexico and, of course, the United States. And they caught him slipping on the border, or did they? Because there was a standoff, a shootout, and at the end of the day, he got away, and there's a manhunt going on for him. And there's a dead officer. There's a female officer, a high-ranking female officer, a commander that was killed in the shootout. Now, automatically, blame is placed on Caesar Hernandez. Okay, that's right off the top. They're going to say Caesar Hernandez because he was the person that they were trying to arrest, that the shootout between him and the officers basically ended up in that officer being killed. Now, Mexico's tricky, for those of you that don't know. So just because they were involved in a shootout with Caesar doesn't necessarily mean that the bullets he fired from his gun, if he fired any at all or had a gun at all, were the ones that killed the victim. Now, according to what I've heard, there was other officers that were also shot in the melee and, when it went down, but she's the one that actually succumbed to her wounds. Now, again, like I say, Mexico's tricky. There's a lot of politics. There's a lot of backdooring. There's a lot of stuff that goes on within the police departments, within the system, the administration, whatever label you want to give it. So that would be the perfect opportunity for a commander, someone who's high ranking, to be basically put to sleep, put at rest, and place blame on this convicted killer. Now, I'm not going to say Caesar Hernandez is not a convicted killer, because he absolutely is. He's been convicted in the United States. He was doing damn near 100 years, okay? So he took the opportunity to go on the run. Who wouldn't? Who wouldn't when you're a lifer, basically, and never going to get out? If you have an opportunity to escape, if you have an opportunity to get to freedom, even though it's a fucked up freedom, and I'm going to explain it to you, it's not really freedom at all. It's a taste of the outside, but it's never truly freedom. See, I've been on the run. And being on the run is probably the most aggravating, worst situation you could place yourself in. The paranoia is real. The anxiety is even realer. The being untrusting, you can't trust even your closest friends, your family. You can't trust anybody. And even more so now that he got told on, because that's how the situation went down. Because believe it or not, Ripley's, right? If this guy would have been just seen by someone and they randomly called him in, they would have immediately snatched him up and had him. Would have been very easy. This was something set up for them to go get him, and they failed. Okay, so that means even more now they're looking more aggressively, especially because there was an officer who was killed, and the fact that she was a female officer makes it even just that much worse. A cop is a cop, but a female cop, woo, you're going to have a whole bunch of male officers mad at you, okay, for killing their coworker, allegedly. Now, I say allegedly because, again, I wasn't the cucaracha on the wall while he was doing these shootings. But most definitely they are pointing all fingers at him. It's all point bulletins in Tijuana and across the frontera, which is the border, right? Now, there's a lot of people, and we had a discussion yesterday during the live, and they said, what does this guy have to do being on the run to make it back? Well, let's rewind and look at the situation first. Obviously, someone told on him. Someone very close to him told on him. Now, you got to look at the clues, certain things that stood out to me about this whole situation. First of all, they showed the area where Cesar Hernandez was holed up, where there was several bullets fired, where this standoff took place. And it was a gated community. There was actually nice homes in this area. Okay, one thing about Mexico, most people in Mexico are poor. They don't have a lot of money. There's only a certain element of people, business owners, people that we don't speak on that are in the criminal world, and certain individuals that even have access to the type of money to be in that type of environment, meaning to be in a gated community. I have a personal friend, someone who I know, who actually owns a home in Mexico in a gated community, and he's worth a lot of money. Okay, so whoever this guy was staying with, whoever he was dealing with, whatever he was a part of, they obviously had money to have him in that area. So that was the first thing that stood out to me. Now, people are like, hey, can he pay people off? In life, anyone can be paid off, right? If you have the right amount of money. Now, just because he was in that situation doesn't mean he's balling out of control. You know, when you're on the run, you got to get up, get out and get something. You got to leave everything that you have, whatever you've built since December, whatever he's accumulated, whatever he's built up, whatever relationships that he's built with, whether it be with females or certain groups or whatever. When you're on the run, you can't trust anyone. You got to go. Obviously, someone gave Cesar Hernandez up. You know, when I was on the run, and I'm going to take you guys through my mindset of being on the run. I wasn't a lifer. I wasn't facing life in prison. I was facing maybe 10 to 15 years. Ultimately, I ended up taking a deal for 4, right? I was kind of going on the run, to be truthfully and honest with you, because I wasn't ready to be locked up yet. It wasn't like my life was on the line. But being that was the reason I was on the run, and knowing what I had coming, I made the conscious decision not to commit more crime. See, being on the run, I've been on the run twice in my life. Once for a murder case when I was very young, and I was so young, I made it all the way myself to North Carolina. From the West Coast all the way to the East Coast, a young kid. That's how far I made it. So wiggling can be done. And we're talking about someone without a penny in his pocket, just a couple homeboys that were aggressive and willing to go all out like I was. Now, amongst doing that, you know, while I was doing that, there was a lot of crimes that were committed and facilitated for me to get where I got. You know, when you're looking at all day, or you think you're going to do life, or you're facing life, and in Cesar Hernandez's case, he's already doing life. Who gives a fuck, right? You get that I don't care mentality, like, and that just accumulates more crime and more crime. And you have nothing to lose. And that's very detrimental to the safety and security of society and the communities that you're in, because you're willing to do whatever it takes to elude the police to get away. Now, in my case, when I went to Mexico, I wasn't trying to commit more crime. I had people looking out for me. Hey, send me a little bit of money here, send me a little money there. But you got to understand, I wasn't facing murder charges or nothing like that, just a simple assault, which I've already done time for. So feds, if you're watching like you watch his Adams channel, I already did my time for it. And I didn't get caught because they weren't aggressively looking for me. There wasn't a manhunt. I was on the front page of the newspaper in my city alone, and it was what it was. They knew eventually I'd come back home and get caught, and that's exactly how it went down. And I was ready. I was ready to stop being on the run, because being on the run, sometimes, man, doors are closed to you. You know, I remember going to a lot of my homeboys' house from my neighborhood, the neighborhood that everyone says, oh, Gunner can't go back to. Good. I don't want to, because when I went back to the neighborhood a few times, the motherfuckers told on me. Every time I would pop up or pull up, all of a sudden cops would be hitting the corner 5 minutes later. I already seen exit strategies from the back doors and all this. I had to have that mentality and think that way, because I couldn't trust anyone. And the reason why is nobody wants you around when you're on the run. Nobody wants to look out for you. You're a liability. You're the homie, but you're hot, homie. Stop bringing the drama to my pad. Stop disrupting my shit, what I got going on. Hey, fuck the fact that you're the homie that's willing to go all out and put in work for the hood. We don't care about none of that. That's the mentality that I was seeing, and I'm sure Cesar Hernandez is seeing a lot of that too. But for whatever reason, he was in Mexico where everyone thought he was going to be. You know, it was pretty obvious. Being Mexicano, being on the run, being an escapee, more than likely, a lot of people think that they can go into Mexico and disappear, but it ain't like that. See, there's a policy that goes on between the United States and Mexico. Not a lot of people are aware of unless you know. And that means that if you are caught behind the lines in Mexico, they will extradite your ass back to California. They will extradite you back to the United States because there is a situation there where, and it's the same thing goes for Mexico. If someone who killed someone in Mexico is on the run out in the United States and they happen to get caught, they're getting snatched up and deported. That's just how it is. They've come to that agreement. Okay. This was a joint task force between, of course, the United States and Mexico. They were working hand in hand and it just didn't work out. Cesar has 9 lives. He is the cat. That is Cesar the cat right there. He's Wiggles. Okay. He's a hard man to find and they hate that type of situation. Now, where did it begin? Okay. He gets to Mexico and maybe he knows people. Maybe he has family. Maybe he meets a chick. Maybe he has a little bit of money saved or people that are looking out for him, just enough to establish a little safe haven for him in the cuts in a gated community. He was really doing his thing, right? Grow your little hair out, blend in, grow a beard, and it's all good. You can stay hidden for a while. Why this man didn't keep going south and try to go to a country that has no extradition, that doesn't work hand in hand with the United States, it boggles my mind. But again, when you're on the run, you're not thinking straight. You think you are. You're thinking all you're focusing on is, I got to fucking stay undetected. I got to get away. I got to get away. I know I've been through it a couple times, right? That's the only thing going through your mind. You're not thinking clearly. Like, you're not thinking about the long run. You're only thinking about today and maybe tomorrow. Just surviving. You're surviving. You're existing. You're not living. That's the cool part about it. This man escapes because he's a lifer in prison, only to come out into the world and exist. And you only exist, you're on a time limit. There's a time schedule. You're only existing for a while. And you're existing in a country that's, yes, you might be Mexican. Yes, you might have family there, but that is not your country. You're from the United States. So you're existing somewhere you don't want to be in the first place. You can't go exist back in your hood. Can't go exist over there with your parents. Can't go exist with your old lady. You got to exist somewhere you truly don't want to be and don't really know too much about. Now, from what I'm being told about Caesar Hernandez from somebody who actually did time with them, is that he is what they would consider a Mexican apocho. Okay, that means he's Americanized. That means there's going to be a lot of Mexicanos, depending upon his Spanish, that are not going to want to fuck with him because he's what they consider plástico, Chicano. You know, they don't really care for them type of individuals in Mexico. Now, being that he's on the run and all that, people will kind of look out for you, but not necessarily so much. If they don't know you, they don't want to know you. Your business is your business. So it's obvious by now that someone gave him up. Someone told his whereabouts because they were able to set up a joint task force and sit on his location. And when they felt the time was right, raid. Now, it went down yesterday at 1 p.m. So in the middle of the afternoon is when they thought they had the best chance to apprehend Cesar. Now, not only, this is what a lot of people ain't telling you, not only were they going after Caesar Hernandez, there was other people in the immediate area that they were on too. So this was something they've been watching for a few seconds. It wasn't something that they just decided to do right off the top because someone called in. So someone actually snitched on him and gave him up. Now, I had a homeboy that was in Mexico, and he was on the run for a murder case in California. He happened to make it into Mexico, make it deeper into Mexico, not just Tijuana, which fucking is crazy that you're just right over the border. But he made it, but who am I to talk? I was in fucking Juarez, but I wasn't facing life, right? But he makes it deeper into fucking Michoacan and gets a chick, has homeboys going back and forth visiting him, gets in an argument with the homeboy gives him up. Task hits, boom, they go deep into the jungles and snatch him. This Vato had already started a new life. He had been out there over a year. He bought him a little tienda, a store. He had people working for him. Like, he had it going on, but he couldn't leave the criminal life. Like, instead of just changing his life, changing his name, just becoming someone new and living the new opportunity that God gave him, right? He basically couldn't leave the criminal lifestyle, and it caught up to him. And just like it does for anyone else, you're going to do your time if you do your crime. Now, Caesar Hernandez is a different type of story, and I'll explain to you why. Even though I believe he was told on by someone close to him, he is now on his own. Everything that he established, he can't trust. Like I said in the beginning, he has to run from that. So his only opportunity at life right now, he has two choices. One, try to make it back to the American side or the American consulate, turn himself in, face his crimes in the United States, which of course right now is of course the ultimate conviction of murder, which he's already doing time for. And of course he'll catch the escape charge and anything he's done subsequently in the United States since then that they know about or he admits to, right? He'll be placed back in prison immediately. Of course, they'll put him in a county jail, local county jail, ship him to a prison, maybe the same prison he was at. He'll go to an ICC committee meeting and they'll lock his ass up for a while and he'll never leave a level 4 yard 180 ever again. And that's pretty much how that's going to work out for him. But he'll be alive and he'll be back in the United States. Or he could be found in Mexico, take his chances at trying to cross over to Central America or wherever he's going. And if he is ultimately caught, Mexico is a different beast. He is a cop killer in Mexico. They don't take too kindly to that. He would not be better off in Mexican prisons or with Mexican authorities with their hands on him. So it's a situation now where he has to make a decision. Now, there is a third option. The third option is make it into a country that has no treaty with the United States, no extradition, and then he can live his life, right? But even then, that doesn't mean that's how it always works out. You know, let me tell you about another friend of mine who thought he could do that. So I had a homeboy that went into a country, right? He was on I didn't even know he was there. Nobody knew. He just disappeared. We thought he was dead. And he was living for over 10 years in one of these countries that I guess there was no extradition or whatever. This is how the story goes. And what happens is they found out where he was at. They knew where he was at for a minute. He was with some chick. Some chick went to the United States to his family and gave him up. His ex seen this chick, this new chick that was actually going back and forth for him, found out where he was at and gave him up. Now, the authorities knew they couldn't go in there. They got another chick to go and lure him to a certain place, and they kidnapped him, snatched his ass up, and brought him back. That's his story, right? I'm just telling it. The fact is, there's wiggles, there's ways, and a lot of things can happen. With Caesar Hernandez, man, I ultimately, and I told it last night on the live, man, I gave him 48 hours. Something's going to happen within 48 hours because it's a pretty aggressive manhunt. It's world news right now. I think this guy's going to be either deceased or in chains and shackles within the next 48 hours. That's a fact, right? But again, Caesar Hernandez is becoming a rock star with this escape. You know, I was talking to Dubs yesterday and we went on the live and he said something that was absolutely rang true. And I didn't catch it at first. And then when he said it and he elaborated more on it, I said, this dude's a genius, right? He's smart. If this guy is caught on the United States side, comes back and is arrested, he will become a rock star. Everyone's going to know him in prison. His popularity is going to soar. There's going to be females that want to ride him, that they're going to be all in love. And it's because he was able to make it out of a level 4 prison, which is very hard. It's never been done before. And also even more so than that, you know, this crime spree. Now, here's a different twist. Let's not all be pro Caesar Hernandez, you know, at all. He's a convicted murderer. He's a dangerous individual. I would never, ever help the authorities in catching this guy. I would never try to tell him where his whereabouts are or nothing like that. But I will say this, man, there are people that are concerned, you know, with if they come across him. And at a time like this, having been on the run, someone who's lived that life, when people are on the run, they make hasty decisions. You know, you look at them the wrong way, they might feel like, hey, you're a cop, you're a fed, you're on them, and do something bad to you. So my advice to anyone who comes across this dude, I'm not saying necessarily turn him in and do all that. Nah, come on, that's some rat shit, right? But if you see the motherfucker going, walk the other way because you don't want to get eye contact and you don't want to make him feel uncomfortable. And if you feel uncomfortable, then just fucking turn and leave. That's just the truth with it, right? But I truly believe someone gave him up. And again, at this point in time, if Caesar Hernandez sees this video, a message to him would be this. Don't worry about who told on you. Don't worry about get backs or what you can do about it. Just keep on moving and grooving and doing your thing. Because right now you got a whole lot on your plate. The moment that there was an authority killed, and it doesn't matter Where? Mexico, United States, Canada, Egypt. The moment a cop is killed, man, you are now just went from a convicted murderer to a cop killer. And that right there, my friend, that's ugly. With that being said, let me know what you guys think. Do you think Cesar Hernandez will make it and stay on the run? Or do you think you agree with me and he'll be caught within the next 48 hours? We'll see how it all works out, man. This is the gun. Bang, bang.